Slapping and shit. Always on time of this shit. Deep on my phone, I declining and shit. Know you online and spit. These niggas be bustin', be robbing and shit. Always be hiding and shit. They never outside, they be hiding and shit. Bitch, Slizzy slack. Fuck you, bitch, when I giving her back. I been a whoop, put my up in the pack. Miss her son, she not getting them back. Slap, 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 when I'm screaming, I'm slap. I'm with Jalen, got a G on the slap.
They gotta catch him.
I heard they have like little kids breeding.
Bro, what, bro?
In like Albania or some far ass country. I don't know.
Bro, Albania is not even far.
But nigga, it's like a far country. They be having like they let the kids breed. Like they don't have the age limit that's the U.S. has.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Some
To a
countries don't
local
even have
internet
age limit.
cafe, take their seats, and begin playing their favorite games. One boy was 13, and the other just 8. And together, they sat there and played the way they always did, getting lost in their screens, wasting the day away, until one of the boys felt a tap on his shoulder. Standing there beside them was a similarly aged child, a stranger to the boys, but a friendly one who strikes up a conversation and eventually poses an offer. According to the unnamed child, he had a friend who lived close by that owned a special computer, one far better than the device they were currently using, and one that had any game you could ever dream of playing. He was headed to that friend's home right now, but he didn't want to go alone. It was an offer that the boys just couldn't refuse, and considering the child was clearly around their age, they saw no red flags and agreed to go with him, following the boy to a nearby apartment building, then up 7 flights of stairs and into a dark room. But waiting for them inside that room wasn't some sort of supercharged computer, and it surely wasn't a friend of the boys, and instead, it was a monster in every sense of the word. A depraved soul who, years down the line, would go on to become one of the most notorious predators ever to walk this earth. An entity known only at the time as Mr. Swirl.
Mr. Swirl.
And these children had just fallen into his trap.
I actually know a nigga that be doing shit like this.
What? Wait, bro, what?
What you just say, Drew?
You. What?
I said I ain't gonna lie. I know I ain't gonna know. I just never.
Like, come play Rank Below with me. I'll carry you. I ain't gonna. I'm done with Fortnite for the night. We've been playing that bitch all night. That bitch got a little too competitive. Niggas started getting deep in over this shit. This nigga taking trips to get the next.
Hey guys, I just wanted to announce that I'm currently working on 2 collaborative projects with my good friend Nexpo, aka Ryan. Together we made this channel called Cool and Super Inspiring.
He's trying to
So leave
profit
a
off
computer.
of
The device
video
revealed
of
hundreds of images, some showing various locations, breathtaking scenery, delicious meals, and CP. The images showed scenes
So,
of
like,
depraved sexual
do you
abuse
think, like, your
being
uncle
done
be
to
doing shit like this?
individuals who were clearly minors.
Nigga, I've met one of my uncle's boyfriends before, bro. Stop trying to be weird.
What? You have a gay uncle?
Bro, everybody knows this game. Yeah, so
Yeah, I thought everybody did.
I
know
went over
that
that nigga house game. I met one of his boyfriends, nigga.
Was he cool?
I mean, yeah.
Did he fuck you in the butt? Alright, play the video, bro.
Come on, gang.
With this abuse being far worse than you'd ever imagine. And it wasn't just one child either, as across that hard drive seemed to be evidence of multiple separate instances of abuse, including images of 3 young boys taken in a dark apartment building. The discovery was horrid, though sadly all in a day's work for investigators who encountered things of this nature on a daily basis, and it's a discovery that likely would have never been discussed by the media after that one day had it not been for one unusual detail. Typically, in cases involving CP, those taking the photographs and performing the actual abuse will almost always go out of their way to ensure that they aren't shown on camera. That way, if authorities should stumble upon it, they would essentially be unidentifiable. However, the dozens of photos found on this particular hard drive were different. Because rather than hiding just out of frame like all the other predators seemed to do, the man behind these images had instead gone out of his way to ensure he was featured within them, shamelessly inserting himself into every single picture, even posing for them, before, during, and after he had changed the lives of these kids forever. And although his entire body was shown in these photographs, the only thing hiding his identity was the addition of a single effect, one that swirled the man's face into a distorted, pixelated mess, making him completely unrecognizable. and leaving his face to look like this. There was something so disturbingly arrogant about it.
Yo, this
a man
nigga is
posing with his
weird,
victims
though.
while destroying their lives, hiding behind only a single swirl of color, almost as if he was taunting any investigators who might eventually find these images. And given the clear indications that this man was obviously a serial abuser, and likely still out there offending, tracking this anonymous figure down became priority one for law enforcement in the area. And it's there that he would be given his nickname, Mr. Swirl. And with this swirl being the only thing standing in the way of investigators getting to see his face, most would have assumed that identifying him would be a walk in the park. However, this was far from the case. As the images began to be dissected, it quickly became apparent that deciphering the sensor was going to be far more difficult than initially thought, and potentially even impossible, as the pixels had been scrambled in such a unique way that there wasn't any known method to unscramble it. And quickly, what should have been their most valuable clue, the one that stood so tantalizingly close, became a lost cause, leaving investigators at their first dead end. Realizing that things were about to get much more difficult, the German police enlisted the help of an
I heard
agency
that you
known
had a
as
great
Interpol,
man. I
an
don't think that we
international
need to
crime-stopping
waste time.
organization with a special unit dedicated
She
to
fell in love with
resolving
Shoot.
crimes against
I thought I got
children.
playing with my dog.
Interpol immediately
She
began
asked
to
me
get to
to
work,
talk-
attempting to
you know that we
decipher the
smoking a
photos
lot.
in a different way, this time by using context clues in the pictures to track down where exactly they were taken, which in turn could tell them where this man was from and where the abuse was taking place. But this too unearthed yet another problem. The first batch of images was discovered to have come from Cambodia, but the next showed evidence that the man was in Vietnam,
And they in
then in
Chinese,
Thailand, and potentially
If a
even
nigga in
South
Chinese
Korea
on
as
God,
well.
I know a nigga.
Rather
I
than
know
gaining
it's
clarity, the locations of these
I ain't
images
gonna lie,
instead
God.
made the
Just imagine
search
you go to
even wider,
Chinese.
as the man was seemingly
trapped.
trapped.
Random
You
6'4"
China,
nigga.
dumbass?
Oh,
Not go to Chinese, it's go to China.
This is not even China, bro.
He's can't. I know what he's trying to say though. He's talking about go to Chinese, go to China.
Oh, yeah.
Traveling from country to country, committing his crimes, and then fleeing, thus never staying long enough for law enforcement to catch
I'm the
up
type
with
of nigga I
him,
love getting
making
hit,
it
nigga.
completely unclear to investigators
am
where
I
he
hearing
was
that?
actually
Bro.
from. And given just how vast his
Whoa,
travels
what was
were,
that?
at this
They put him
point,
inside the
it
video?
was realized that Mr. Swirl could be anywhere,
did he say I'm the type
a
of
moving
nigga I love
target,
to
so to
get hit?
speak,
Nah, it's
and an
the
active
same
one as well.
Hey, Glide,
Yeah.
be so honest,
During the
bro. Look, this
investigation,
Navi
which would
bitch
later
in
be
game
dubbed
just said she's
Operation
cracking
Vi-
your character. Are you cracking that?
What?
Answer that for me real quick. I just want to know.
Bro, I ain't lying. What did you just, Eric Season? What did you just ask me, man?
Bro,
look,
why is she
the
role
Navi
playing
look.
at 11 in the
The
morning,
Yes,
gang?
and
Get a
what,
job,
like,
nigga.
come on, what are you talking?
What's your stupid nigger ass?
Bro, can you just answer the question, Glide?
Say it again, gang.
Whoever the Navi bitch is, OLC says she's cracking. Are you cracking?
She said she's cracking my character.
Yeah.
Cracking.
Cracking my character. And she said that in game.
Yeah.
So why are you asking me OC? Are you trying to OC roleplay with me?
Not really. I just want to see what your like standards looking like.
So go ask Baby Cartel in character game. Don't ask me in the Discord game. We don't OC roleplay.
Yo, gang, yo, I don't even care no more, bro.
Waco, in reference to Vietnam and Cambodia, which
I
seemed to
just
be
wanted
the
to see
main
if you was
sites of
gonna go
his
to that low
abuse,
standard, bro.
investigators made a disturbing
Oh,
discovery
standard.
that Mr. Swirl
What you
Yeah.
trying to say?
Nothing. I'm just
Trying to
saying.
say her character like what you trying to say? Fool? You talking about those standards? What are you?
Hey,
trying
bro,
to
stop
say?
playing.
Just let me know what you trying to say, nigga. You said die nigga with a death, and I ain't gonna. I'm
Swirl's photographs were not
Man, I'ma get up
exclusive
with
to
that
just
nigga.
that hard drive,
I'm done with
as
this.
photo after photo began
know
to
who you be
appear on
feeling like,
various
man.
online forums, with all of them featuring that disturbed, swirling face. The images were
I
shared
can't even
across the
find my
web,
J,
seemingly
bro.
straight from the man himself, and were sent out to various predatory groups that were filled with individuals just as sick as he was. Within these groups, it was considered a badge of honor to show your body and face within the content you made, thus leading to the sender becoming well respected among his peers, which showed us two things. One, that this was likely the reason why Mr. Swirl inserted himself in these photos, as it had led to him becoming a beloved member of their twisted community, in turn granting him access to all the CP he could want. And two, that the images found on the hard drive did not account for his whole body of work, as in these chat rooms and forums, police would find far more photos featuring their suspect, raising the total from a few dozen to nearly 300. By this point, Mr. Swirl had been untraceable. Authorities were essentially searching for a ghost, and though these new images must have felt like a gut punch at first, they would eventually prove to be integral to their
what if you
investigation.
just got like a secret
as for the
pass or
first time,
something, and niggas don't even know like you used to touch little kids or some shit.
Come on, bro. Look what the fuck you're saying, man.
Bro, what
like look at his what ifs though. What if I have a secret past? Like shit like that is not shit that niggas wouldn't know about, dumbass. Some kind of
What?
record.
Nigga, that's how. Look at Sketch.
bro.
That's different though, gang. He had a whole different like look to himself, and he had an alias. Like, come on, man.
Jamie Marass, what the
You're
fuck you Glide? You probably
you're talking about me. What?
sketch fuck Glide's uncle. My fault, bro.
God damn, Blur.
Your past markets ain't been hitting, gang. Fix up, man.
My
time in
fault,
their
bro.
hunt, Mr. Swirl had made a key error. Within these postings, Mr. Swirl had forgotten to hide his IP address, in turn revealing the general area in which they had been sent, with the location being Vancouver, Canada. This break revealed the key detail that he had some sort of tie to Vancouver, and that he was likely a sex tourist, someone who travels to countries that have loose laws around their age of consent in order to be able to abuse children without
Not
any
even playing for it?
repercussions.
Oh, I just got off.
With Mr. Swirl clearly doing the same thing, visiting multiple countries in Asia, making his material, coming home, and then sharing it with his friends. It certainly didn't solve the case, but it was finally a step in the right direction. And unbeknownst to the team working on
2K?
Operation Vico,
What build
they
you
were
on?
quickly approaching an even bigger revelation. As authorities were working hard on pinning down Mr. Swirl's location,
somebody on my,
some members of the
account right
team
now.
held on hope that the images
Let me see.
themselves could still be unscrambled.
God.
And upon
Yeah,
digging a
somebody
bit
playing right now.
deeper, one member of the team would
Somebody playing on my
actually
account.
recognize the swirl as having come from a fairly standard editing
We can run
program,
twos, though. I'll
which
run big.
revealed something. The
After you
swirl
get off.
effect wasn't like a typical sensor or blur. Those
Niggas
effects
wanna pull the
completely
2K
mask
segment?
or even remove the pixels from the actual photograph, making them nearly impossible
the
to
2K segment?
decipher. But this effect did neither of those things, and instead it simply rearranged the pixels of the man's face into a swirling pattern, meaning
look, you
that
wanna
this
hoop
image still
IRL,
contained
darn.
all of its original pixels, and Mr. Swirl's face was somewhere in this picture. They just had to piece it together. And so, in what must have felt like a Hail Mary at the time, an investigator put one of the images into that very same editing software, then clicked that very same swirl effect, and simply reversed it.
So
Which in
it took them
turn
that long to figure
led
this
to
out.
this.
Nigga, we have a whole hurricane on us right now. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I
Yeah, it's
forgot.
coming, bro.
It is a fucking hurricane.
It's not
coming.
hitting you, Rico. It's not hitting you.
Bro,
Nah.
that shit barely gonna do anything to you,
Yeah.
In an
man.
investigation that
Whoa,
started all the way
wait.
back in 2004,
So, like, they don't-
finally,
they don't
Mr.
That don't
Swirl's
really work,
face
gang.
was
Come on,
revealed
gang. That do
with
not
a
work.
You
single
don't think that worked? Nigga, if he put on the effect, somebody can bring it in Photoshop and put on the same effect and bring it down.
What? That don't even make sense though.
Like when you growing your hair out, I ain't gonna lie, I'm done growing my hair out, bro. I realized like I got the straight hair
Nigga, this shit like cool.
and it's gonna just feel me. It's just gonna be better looking if I'm low cut, clean cut. You feel me? That's really it.
click a whole 3 years later, confirming
did have
not
a whole
only what the man
hurricane.
looked
That shit
like,
crazy.
but also that it was truly just one man behind the swirl.
Please grow your
And
hair
to
out and get a
now,
little taper.
all they had to do was
Like
find
JB,
him.
are you finna be fucking
Interpol
me?
first
Like,
started
that
their
nigga trying to
search by
build
sending
you?
this
Like, I'm
man's image
saying,
to every single
why
police
do you care
station
how I
the network
look?
had
You're
access
not like-
to,
you're not my
asking if
girlfriend,
anyone
gang.
across
You're
the
not
world
me,
had a
close,
criminal
yeah.
in their database who might match this photo, but this attempt would fall flat, indicating that whoever this man was, he likely had no prior criminal record. Time was clearly of the essence, and they knew that with every waking moment, Mr. Swirl could be adding to his list of growing victims. And wanting to act fast, Interpol made a fairly unprecedented decision. They reached out to every single major news outlet across the world and asked them to show this man's face on their broadcast to help bring this predator to justice. Additionally, the images of Mr. Swirl's face were also plastered in all corners of the internet, and within just one day, the story was quite literally everywhere. What started as a small search for an anonymous man had become an international manhunt overnight, and within just hours, Mr. Swirl would be anonymous no more.
Our top news story this hour, the worldwide search for a suspected pedophile is concentrated in Thailand this morning. We now know the suspect is a Canadian. The CBC's Michael McAuliffe reports from Bangkok.
This morning, Interpol announced they now believe they know who the man is. He's been identified as a Canadian, 32-year-old Christopher Paul Neal.
His name is Christopher Paul Neal. Not only did Neal's face and body match perfectly with Mr. Swirl, but he also had grown up just outside of Vancouver where the IP was tracked to. And he had moved from country to country across Asia in recent years, countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand.
Oh,
the resemblance was so undeniable that even one of his own family members came forward to help identify him. Christopher Neal was in fact Mr. Swirl, a discovery that came with some disturbing revelations. As it turns out, Christopher Neal was actually working as a children's English teacher, a job he had held in each of the countries he was discovered to have abused young boys in, making it likely that he used this position of power to lure in children from his classes to eventually abuse them and share their photos online. Along with this, it was also revealed that he had used his relationships with young boys to help lure in other children for him to assault. As looking back on the story that started this video, he had recruited a clueless child he knew to lure those two brothers back to his apartment. This discovery also shined a spotlight on his social media pages, and specifically his MySpace page, where he chillingly wrote, "Loving Asia, will I ever come back?" while in the midst of his abuse spree. But for me, one of the most shocking revelations was that those images that he had posted during the investigation weren't actually posted to his computer. At some point in the early 2000s, Neal had stopped home for a brief vacation to visit his family, and while there, he decided to upload all of his CP to his internet friends. But rather than using his personal device or a public computer, he instead broke into his own brother's laptop and uploaded his content there. That way, the images would be tracked to his brother and not him, which explained why he never bothered to hide his IP address. The more they learned, the more disturbed the story became, as even at the time they discovered his identity, it was revealed that he had currently been working in South Korea as a teacher. But when the officers arrived to arrest the man, he was already long gone. Having certainly seen his face all over the news, Christopher made the decision to flee the country, being spotted in this image captured at an airport in Thailand, as he had flown to the country likely in an attempt to find refuge. Throughout the following days and weeks, his likeness would turn up time and time again in the country, indicating that he was somewhere in Thailand hiding out. And having cornered him in the region, it wouldn't take long for police to knock on the door of an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere, in which Christopher Neal happened to be hiding, bringing the multi-year search for Mr. Swirl to an end.
Did he you to tell me no laughs? Hey shit, bitch, tell me you my dick.
Following his arrest by Thai police, Neal will be charged for his assault on those 3 young boys from the internet cafe, as it was the only crime they could prove had taken place in that country, and with it carried a prison sentence of 5 years. Admittedly, the sentencing was light, but the plan was to have Neal turned over to Canadian authorities after he did his time in Thailand, where they would also prosecute him all over again, with the hope being that they could do the same thing with countries like Cambodia and Vietnam, and essentially force him to live out his life in prison. However, when the sentence was completed in 2012, and Christopher was deported back to Canada, the shocking decision was made to allow Christopher Neal to walk free. When Neal was detained in Canada, authorities let him walk under the condition that he would never own a device that connected to the internet again, as well as the agreement that he would stay away from parks, schools, and also register as a sex offender. I can't for the life of me understand why this decision was made, but from what I could gather, it seemed to center around the fact that his crimes were international, and that none of his other victims had actually come forward, meaning the other countries they had hoped would prosecute never actually bothered to pursue it. And because his crimes didn't happen on Canadian soil, not much could really be done, legally speaking. And so in the end, the hunt for Mr. Swirl ended up lasting almost as long as the sentence he served. And even after everything this man did, he was let loose and allowed to assimilate back into society. But this isn't where our story ends. Not even a full year later in 2013, it would be uncovered that Christopher Neal had somehow managed to purchase a computer and also connect it to the internet, a clear violation of his conditions. And though he claimed it was just for writing a book about his life experiences, when investigators seized the device, they would, unsurprisingly, find even more CP, 25 images to be exact, including 2 with his signature swirling face.
Registered sex offender.
As it turns out, Christopher had been using the device to contact his fellow pedophile friends, where he would even message one of his disturbed friends right after his release, saying, "The swirl liveth still," proving without a shadow of a doubt that he was remorseless about his crimes and took pride in his new nickname. And somehow, the discovery got even worse from there, as it was revealed that a friend of his had shown him how to access the deep web and how to share these photographs in practically an untraceable way, thus allowing him to continue being active in these predatory groups, no matter what restrictions were placed on him. After Canadian police made this discovery, Christopher would yet again be arrested, and this time they had the chance to really send a message and put him away
It be
forever.
certain shit I know a
as
nigga
clearly
would
letting
never
him
do.
walk away
Like,
the
you
first
never
time
gonna
was
see
a
no
mistake,
black ass
as he
nigga,
wasn't
monkey,
reformed
jigaboo
even in the
nigger doing shit
slightest.
like this, gang. Oh
And so,
God.
to make up for this,
It's
the
always the
judge
white
would give
niggas.
Christopher Neal the whopping sentence of just 5.5 years, with time served, meaning that he would only end up in jail for a little over 14 months.
Which I don't condone this little kid. He doesn't know any
The
better.
prosecution praised the
He's just a
sentence as
kid.
a win, and Christopher vowed to change his ways, but it just doesn't sit right that as of 2016, Mr. Swirl, the man responsible for dozens and dozens of instances of extreme child abuse, which by the way are just the ones that we know of, is a free man, now living a normal life in Vancouver. And worst of all, he now has access to share this material through untraceable avenues, meaning that there is a good chance that he could still be out there obtaining, sharing, and who knows, maybe even producing his content. The case of Mr. Swirl is such a frustrating one. For once, a case of this nature gained worldwide attention and was pursued by the full extent of the law,
Hey, let
with the
that
folks
nigga come
over at
to the
Interpol
US.
doing a fantastic
I'ma
job with
handle
the
it
case,
myself.
only for it all to be deflated
Instead
once
of
he was
dropping off
finally
kids.
captured. And just knowing that he's out there living a normal
Dude,
life
that
after
nigga
all
under
this,
you.
after all the lives that he's forever affected, makes this one of the
Dick
most
Rider.
disheartening cases we've covered to date.
Dick rider, little bruh. The Brad be dick rider.
Slapping and shit. Always on top of this shit. If it's on my phone, I decline and shit. Know you online and spit. These niggas be bustin', be rhyming and shit. Always be hiding and shit. They never outside, they be hiding and shit. Bitch, Slizzy slack. Fuck you, bitch, when I'm giving her back. I've been a whip, put my up in the pack. Miss her son, she not getting them back. Slap, 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 when I'm screaming, I'm slap. I'm with J Link, got the G on the slap.